High Counselor Tejo slammed his ceremonial staff against the polished floor of the grand chamber. The sound echoed through the vast space. The staff was made of ancient wood from his homeworld, topped with a glowing crystal. Representatives from 17 advanced civilizations stopped talking and turned to face him. Some had multiple eyes, others had shimmering scales, and a few floated above their seats. Today we discuss a new species discovered in the Outer Rim, Tejo said. His blue skin caught the light as he moved. They come from a planet called Earth in the Sol system. Ambassador Jaiwu sighed loudly. She had 4 arms and used one to flick through the holographic report floating in front of her. The images showed small ships and cities on a blue-green planet. These humans are nothing special, she said. They only figured out faster than light travel 50 years ago. Their ships are slow and basic. Some still use chemical fuel. How did they even get to the stars? Many council members laughed. Some made hissing sounds that meant the same thing in their cultures. Science Director Miho stood up next. He was tall and thin with 6 fingers on each hand. He touched a panel on the table, and a 3D image of a human appeared in the center of the room. The image rotated slowly. Look at them, Miho said. Soft skin. No claws. Weak muscles. Poor eyesight that sees only a tiny part of the light spectrum. They can't even breathe underwater or survive radiation. He pointed to different parts of the human body. They need food and water constantly. They spend 1/3 of their lives unconscious because their brains need sleep to work properly. More laughter filled the chamber. A representative from the Confederation, who had armor-like skin, said, "My pet could defeat one in combat." Security Chief Doyen stood up next. His species had evolved on a high-gravity world, making him short but incredibly strong. I see no threat here. I recommend we classify humans as a level 2 species. That means minimal contact, no sharing of advanced technology, and we keep the option open to use their system's resources when needed. Most members nodded in agreement. It seemed the matter was settled. Then a quiet voice spoke from the back of the chamber. I believe that would be a mistake. Everyone turned to look. Researcher Jaihai stepped forward. She was one of the few members who had actually visited Earth, though only in disguise. I have studied their history extensively, she said. Her voice was calm but firm. These humans have nearly destroyed themselves many times, with nuclear weapons, climate change, biological warfare, yet they always survive and grow stronger. She touched her own panel, and new images appeared. Humans building cities in deserts. Humans diving to the bottom of their oceans. Humans on their moon. Their technology development is unlike anything we've seen, Jaihai continued. It took the Confederation 3,000 years to go from simple machines to space travel. Humans did it in less than 300. They adapt faster than any species we know. She showed a timeline of human inventions. The curve rose sharply at the end. And their resourcefulness is remarkable. When they lack natural abilities, they build tools to compensate. They can't fly, so they build aircraft. They can't survive in space, so they make special suits. They turn weaknesses into strengths. Security Chief Doyen frowned. That's interesting but hardly concerning. They're still centuries behind us. Perhaps, Jaihai said. But consider this, we evolved gradually. Most of us developed technology slowly, over thousands of years. Humans push forward at an incredible pace. They're driven by something I don't fully understand, a combination of curiosity, ambition, and constant dissatisfaction with what they have. She showed one last image, a small human ship meeting an alien vessel at the edge of their solar system. I believe we should classify them as a level 4 species and establish proper diplomatic relations. If we dismiss them now, we may regret it later. The chamber was quiet for a moment. Then High Counselor Tejo laughed softly. Your concern is noted, Researcher Jaihai, he said. But the evidence speaks for itself. He gestured at the human hologram still floating in the center of the room. They're just humans. Interesting, perhaps, but hardly worth special attention. He struck his staff against the floor again. The classification stands. Level 2 species. Minimal contact. Limited observation only. We have more pressing matters to discuss. The Arcturian trade dispute has escalated, and the Melvari have reported unusual energy signatures near their home system. As the council moved on to the next topic, Jai-Hai returned to her seat. She looked once more at the human hologram before it faded away. She knew something the others didn't see. In the human's eyes was a look she recognized from her research: determination. And that, she feared, might be more powerful than any technology they could measure. The giant silver ship from the Galactic Council landed at the new United Earth spaceport outside of Tokyo. People gathered behind barriers, pointing and taking pictures. This was humanity's first official meeting with the Council. Ambassador Jaehwan stepped out of the ship with 4 assistants. He had purple skin that shimmered in the sunlight and wore elaborate robes with symbols that seemed to move. His eyes were large and completely black. He looked around at the human welcoming committee with what appeared to be a smile, but his mouth had too many teeth. President Yoonji stepped forward and bowed slightly. On behalf of humanity, welcome to Earth. We are honored by your visit. Jaehwan made a gesture that might have been a bow in return, but looked more like he was checking if his shoes were clean. Yes, yes. We are pleased to finally make proper contact with your developing world. The diplomatic team led the aliens to a large meeting room with windows overlooking the ocean. The room had been specially prepared with seats designed to accommodate different body types and environmental controls for comfort. Jaehwan sat at the head of the table without being invited. His assistants arranged themselves around him while human diplomats took their seats. Let me explain how the galaxy works, Jaehwan began without waiting for introductions. He pressed a button on his wrist, and a holographic map filled the room. This is Council space. Nearly 2,000 species are members or under our protection. He pointed to a tiny dot at the edge of the map. This is your solar system. Very small, very new to us. President Yoonji kept her face neutral, but her hands tightened under the table. We're eager to learn about interstellar relations and trade opportunities. Oh, trade is complex, Jaehwan said, waving his hand as if brushing away a fly. Your technology is too primitive to offer much of value. Perhaps in a century or two you'll have something interesting to share. One of the human diplomats leaned forward. We've made remarkable progress in quantum computing and... Yes, Jaehwan interrupted. All species believe their achievements are remarkable. It's quite charming. He turned to his assistants and made a sound that was clearly laughter. The meeting continued for 3 more hours. Jaehwan explained the rules of galactic travel, restricted technologies, and areas humans were forbidden to explore, all while speaking as if addressing children. When President Yoonji asked about defense treaties, Jaehwan smiled wider. Defense? Your species is under council protection now. Though I should mention that as an interesting developing species, you won't have voting rights or the ability to petition for assistance for at least 50 years. When the aliens finally left, President Yoonji maintained her diplomatic smile until their ship disappeared into the clouds. Then her expression darkened. She turned to her chief of staff. Call an emergency meeting. All military leaders. Top security clearance only. 4 hours later, in a bunker deep beneath the presidential palace, Earth's top military commanders gathered around a table. General Hyuk played back recordings of the meeting. He paused on Jaehwan's smiling face. They see us as insects, he said. Primitive, harmless creatures barely worth their attention. Admiral Summon nodded. We've analyzed their technology from sensor readings. Their ships are far beyond our current capabilities. Then we must advance faster, President Yoonji said firmly. If we remain weak, we'll be colonized or worse. History has taught us what happens to less developed societies when they meet advanced ones. We have one advantage, said General Hyuk. They've underestimated us. They think we're peaceful and primitive. 3 months passed. In a secret facility built beneath the Pacific Ocean, scientists and engineers worked day and night. The facility extended for miles under the seabed, hidden from orbital scans. Director Juno led President Yoonji and her advisors through reinforced doors into a massive chamber. Inside was a partially built spaceship unlike any Earth had constructed before. "We've reversed engineered components from the Galactic Council ship," Juno explained. "Their scanning technology is surprisingly lax, they didn't even notice our drones collecting samples from their engine exhaust and outer hull." He gestured to glowing blue components. "Their propulsion system is efficient, but we've improved it by 40%. Their weapons were powerful but unimaginative. We've made significant modifications based on principles they apparently haven't explored." President Yoonji looked impressed. "How soon until we have a fleet?" 6 months for the first 10 ships, Juno replied. "We're already converting the hidden facilities in the Kuiper Belt to shipyards. The Council doesn't monitor that region, they think we barely have a presence beyond Mars." Meanwhile, at Galactic Council headquarters, Intelligence Officer Sungo was giving his regular report. He pulled up a holographic display. "We've detected unusual energy signatures in the Sol system," he said. "And our long-range scouts have spotted human ships in the Tau Ceti system." High Counselor Taeho barely looked up from his other reports. "Probably just trade vessels or explorers learning to use their new FTL drives," he said dismissively. "Nothing concerning." Sungo hesitated. "The energy signatures don't match typical human technology." "They probably bought some basic equipment from the merchant guilds," Taeho said. "Keep an eye on it, but they're just humans. Focus on the real threats." As Sungo left the chamber, he couldn't shake a feeling of unease. The reports from Earth had been too quiet lately. Almost as if the humans were hiding something. Of the Mokdong Empire ships moved silently through space toward the human colony of Novaterra. Their vessels were dark gray with red markings, built to inspire fear. The Mokdong were known across the galaxy as skilled warriors and opportunists. They had been watching the Council's classification of new species, looking for easy targets. Commander Kyung stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Conqueror. He was tall with ridged skin and amber eyes. His clan markings covered his face in intricate patterns. Around him, Mokdong officers worked at their stations, preparing for what they expected would be a simple mission. "Show me the human colony," Kyung ordered. A holographic image appeared, showing Novaterra. The colony was only 15 years old, with dome structures and basic defenses. About 20,000 humans lived there, mining rare minerals from the planet's crust. "Pathetic," Kyung said with a smile. "They have only a few orbital platforms for defense. Our sensors detect no significant military presence." His second-in-command, Officer Jinky, nodded. "The Council reports classify humans as a Level 2 species. Their weapons are primitive. This will be an easy conquest." "Begin the attack," Kyung ordered. "Standard formation. Target their communication arrays first." The Mokdong fleet spread out, 15 warships against what appeared to be a helpless colony. Their weapons powered up, glowing red against the darkness of space. Then something strange happened. "Commander," called the sensor officer. "I'm detecting energy signatures appearing around the colony." Kyung frowned. "From where?" "Unknown, sir. They weren't there a moment ago." Suddenly, the main view screen showed new ships appearing as if from nowhere. They didn't look like any vessels Kyung had seen before. They were sleek and angular, with blue-white energy patterns flowing across their hulls. "Human ships?" Kyung asked in disbelief. Before anyone could answer, one of the Mokdong warships reported being hit. Then another. And another. Kyung watched in shock as the strange vessels moved with impossible speed, firing weapons that bypassed Mokdong shields completely. "What is happening?" he demanded, slamming his fist on the command console. The tactical officer's eyes were wide with fear. "They're using some kind of hybrid technology, sir. Our sensors can't track them properly. It's like they're partly in our dimension and partly somewhere else." On the viewscreen, a Mokdong cruiser exploded in a ball of flame. 2 more reported complete system failures. Return fire, Kyung ordered. We're trying, sir, Officer Jinky replied. Our targeting systems can't lock onto them. It's like shooting at ghosts. Another explosion rocked the Conqueror. The lights flickered, and warning alarms blared across the bridge. That hit bypassed our shields completely, the tactical officer reported. They've somehow modified Rentari phase technology, but it's more advanced than anything the Rentari have. Kyung couldn't believe what was happening. His mighty fleet was being taken apart by a species that had barely achieved space travel. Where did they get this technology, he demanded. The council claimed they were primitive. The battle lasted less than an hour. Of the 15 Mokdong warships, 8 were destroyed completely. 5 were disabled and drifting in space. Only 2, including the Conqueror, managed to jump to safety. Kyung stood in his damaged bridge, looking at the reports in disbelief. His crew was silent, shocked by their defeat. Set course for Council space, he ordered quietly. They need to know what we've encountered. 3 days later, on the Galactic Council station, emergency alarms blared throughout the giant structure. Council members rushed to the emergency session chamber, murmuring in confusion and fear. High Counselor Taeho entered the chamber, his usually calm face now tight with concern. Security Chief Doyen followed him, carrying data tablets. What is the meaning of this emergency session? Asked Ambassador Jaiwoo. Taeho looked around the room gravely. We have received disturbing news. The Mokdong Empire launched an unauthorized attack on a human colony 3 days ago. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Mokdong were known for their aggression, but they usually chose their targets carefully. I assume they were successful? Science Director Miho asked. The humans couldn't possibly defend against Mokdong warships. Security Chief Doyen stepped forward. His hands were shaking slightly as he activated the central display. It showed footage from the battled Mokdong ships being systematically destroyed by the strange human vessels. The Mokdong fleet was defeated, Doyen said. 15 warships attacked. Only 2 escaped. Silence fell over the chamber. Then chaos erupted as everyone began talking at once. Impossible. How could primitive humans defeat the Mokdong? There must be some mistake. High Counselor Taeho struck his staff against the floor, restoring order. Security Chief, explain what happened. Doyen looked shaken. The humans, they didn't fight like any species we've encountered. They used technology that appeared to be based on Council designs, but modified in ways we never considered. Their ships could partially phase out of normal space, making them nearly impossible to target. He showed more images, close-ups of the human vessels. They've somehow combined technologies from multiple species and improved them. Their weapons bypassed Mokdong shields completely. Impossible, Taeho whispered. They're just humans. They were barely building space stations a century ago. From the back of the chamber, researcher Jai-hai spoke up. I warned this council. I said we were underestimating them. All eyes turned to her. Their history is filled with examples of them adapting to threats, she continued. They don't think like we do. Where we see separate technologies, they see connections. Where we follow traditions, they innovate without limitations. Security Chief Doyen nodded slowly. The reports from Commander Kyung indicate the humans knew exactly how to counter Mokdong tactics. It's as if they were prepared for the attack. A cold feeling spread through the chamber as the implications became clear. The humans weren't as primitive as they had been led to believe. And now, they had proven themselves dangerous. An emergency meeting of the Galactic Council began only hours after the news of the Mokdong defeat. Council members arrived in a hurry, many still wearing their sleep clothes or formal attire from other functions. Fear hung in the air like a thick fog. High Counselor Taeho entered last, his usually confident stride now stiff and worried. He struck his staff against the floor, but the room was already silent. We face an unprecedented situation, he announced. Science Director Miho will present his findings. Miho stepped forward. His hands trembled slightly as he activated the holographic display. Images appeared showing the Sol system and beyond. The situation has changed dramatically, he said. Our long-range scans show human activity throughout their system and beyond. They've converted multiple asteroid belts into mobile shipyards. The display showed massive structures hidden within asteroid fields. Some asteroids had been hollowed out completely, with ships emerging from their centers. Their production capacity has increased exponentially, Miho continued. We estimate they've built more ships in the last 6 months than in their entire previous history. The chamber erupted in panicked discussions. Some council members stood, shouting questions and demands. Others sat frozen in shock. How did we miss this? Ambassador Jaiwu demanded. Our intelligence network should have detected such activity. They concealed their operations brilliantly, said Security Chief Doyen. They maintained a facade of normal development while building in secret. They used the asteroid fields to block our scans. And he hesitated. I believe they hacked into our sensor networks to feed us false data. More shouting filled the chamber. A level 2 species should not be capable of such deception. Researcher Jai-Hai stepped forward from her position at the back of the room. The chamber grew quiet as she approached the center floor. I warned you, she said simply. I studied their history. These humans have fought countless wars against themselves, constantly developing new ways to overcome their limitations. Images appeared on the screen: human history, battles, technologies developing at remarkable speed. In their wars, the side with fewer resources often developed the most innovative weapons, Jai-Hai explained. They turned disadvantages into strengths. When they could not match their enemies in strength, they used cunning instead. The council members watched in silence as the images continued: humans building, fighting, adapting. They saw how the council treated them, Jai-Hai said. They understood immediately that they needed to advance quickly or risk being dominated. Security Chief Doyen stepped forward again. His skin had turned an unhealthy pale color. Latest intelligence suggests their fleet now numbers in the thousands, he said. And they are not staying in their territory. Our border sensors have detected large formations moving toward Council space. A map appeared showing hundreds of ships moving in formation. The trajectory was clear: they were heading directly toward the Council's central worlds. Panicked whispers filled the chamber. Are they planning to attack us? Someone asked. Their movements suggest a coordinated military operation, Doyen confirmed. We have never seen such rapid military buildup from any species, let alone one so new to space travel. High Counselor Teiho gripped his staff so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His voice was strained but determined when he spoke. Open diplomatic channels immediately, he ordered. Send a message to Earth's leadership. We must negotiate before this escalates further. Communications Officer Soyen moved to her console. Sending now, Counselor. But given the distance. It may be too late for that, Jai-Hai said quietly. She was looking at a different display on her personal device. Look. She transferred the image to the main viewing screen. The entire council chamber fell silent. The screen showed space outside the council station itself. Hundreds of human vessels were emerging from FTL travel, appearing like stars winking into existence. They surrounded the station completely. Impossible, Teiho whispered. They can't have reached here so quickly. Our intelligence said they were still days away. They've developed a new FTL method, Jai-Hai said. Again, they've taken existing technology and improved it beyond what we thought possible. The human ships formed a perfect sphere around the station. They made no aggressive moves, but their message was clear: they could attack at any moment. A communication request appeared on the main console. It's from the human flagship, Communications Officer Soyen announced. Her voice trembled. They're requesting to speak with the full council. Teiho looked around at the terrified faces of the council members. Many of them had dismissed humans as primitive just months ago. Now those same humans held the fate of the council in their hands. "Accept the communication," Taeho ordered. The screen changed to show the bridge of a human ship. In the center stood President Yoonji, wearing a simple but elegant uniform. Behind her stood General Hyuk and several other humans in military attire. "Greetings, High Counselor Taeho," Yoonji said calmly. "I believe it's time we had a real conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy." Taeho swallowed hard before responding. "We welcome this opportunity for dialogue, President Yoonji." As the two leaders stared at each other across the vastness of space, the balance of power in the galaxy shifted irrevocably. The species that had been dismissed as just humans now commanded the attention of the entire council. And no one knew what they would do next. The great doors of the council chamber opened slowly. Every council member stood, some out of respect, others out of fear. The human delegation walked in with measured steps. Their footsteps echoed in the silent room. President Yoonji led the group. She wore a simple white uniform with a single blue earth symbol on her collar. General Hyuk walked on her right, his face stern and watchful. Admiral Jisoo walked on her left, her eyes taking in every detail of the chamber. Behind them came 12 more humans, scientists, diplomats, and military officers. Unlike the first contact meeting, when the humans had seemed small and insignificant, now they filled the room with their presence. The council members could feel it, a quiet confidence, a resolved strength. High Counselor Taeho stood at the center of the chamber. His ceremonial staff trembled slightly in his hand. The 17 representatives of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy watched nervously. "High Counselor," President Yoonji said with a slight nod. "We appreciate your invitation to address the council as equals." Taeho swallowed hard. Just 6 months ago, he had dismissed humans as barely worth the council's attention. Now they controlled a fleet that surrounded the council station. Outside the viewports, thousands of human ships waited. The sleek vessels looked both beautiful and deadly against the backdrop of stars. "Of course," Taeho replied, his voice strained but diplomatic. "Recent events have clarified our understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy." A few council members shifted uncomfortably. Ambassador Jaiwol looked down at her hands, unable to meet the human delegation's eyes. President Yoonji walked to the center of the chamber. She carried no weapons, but she didn't need any. Her presence commanded attention. "We don't seek revenge," she stated clearly. "That is not humanity's way. But we do demand recognition and equal standing in all galactic affairs moving forward." General Hyuk stepped forward. He placed a small device on the center table. It projected detailed terms for all to see. "We propose the following," he said. "Fair trade agreements between all council worlds and Earth. Technological exchange programs that benefit all species. And most importantly, human representation on this council itself." The terms appeared reasonable, even generous. Some council members looked relieved. They had expected demands for reparations or territory. "Your misjudgment of our species could have led to our extinction," General Hyuk continued. His voice was calm but firm. "Had the Mokdong Empire been stronger, or had we been as weak as you believed, humans might now be slaves or worse. We will not allow ourselves to be vulnerable again." Science Director Miho spoke up. "How can we be sure of your peaceful intentions? You built a war fleet in secret." Admiral Jisoo answered. "We built a defense fleet because we were given no choice. You classified us as level 2, with no voting rights and no real protection. We saw the truth in Ambassador Jaewon's eyes during first contact. We were considered primitive, disposable." Researcher Jaihai stepped forward from the council side. "I studied human history. They rarely start conflicts, but they always finish them. If you treat them with respect, they make loyal allies." President Yoonji smiled at Jaihai. "Your assessment was correct. Had the council listened to you earlier, perhaps this show of force would not have been necessary." High Counselor Taeho looked around at the council members. One by one, they nodded their agreement. They had no real choice, but many also recognized the wisdom in the human terms. "We accept your proposal," Taeho announced. "Earth will have full membership on the Galactic Council, effective immediately." President Yoonji extended her hand, a human custom for sealing agreements. After a moment of hesitation, Taeho took it. The tension in the room finally broke. Over the next year, everything changed. Human ships began to patrol trade routes, stopping piracy that had plagued smaller worlds for centuries. Human engineers shared modified technologies that helped solve problems other species had struggled with for generations. Most surprising to the Council was how humans treated other developing species. Instead of looking down on them, humans established academies where young civilizations could learn and grow at their own pace. 5 years later, former High Counselor Taeho, now serving as an advisor, walked slowly through the gardens of the new council headquarters on a neutral world. With him were representatives from 3 newly admitted species. "You seem troubled by something," said one of the young representatives, whose species had joined the council just months ago. Taeho looked up at the sky, where ships of all designs moved peacefully. Among them were the distinctive shapes of human vessels, now a common sight throughout the galaxy. "I was remembering my greatest failure," he said. "And my greatest lesson." The young representatives listened closely as he continued. "In my long life, I have seen many civilizations rise. But I had never seen one rise as quickly as the humans. When they appeared in our galaxy, I made a terrible mistake. I judged them by their appearance, by their youth." He pointed to a human and Confederation officer walking together across the garden, deep in conversation. "The greatest lesson of my tenure," he told them, "is to never judge a civilization by its appearance or its youth. Especially," he added with a knowing smile, "not humans." As if on cue, a new ship appeared in the sky above, larger than any seen before. It was a joint project between humans and 5 other species, designed to explore beyond the galaxy itself. "They were just humans," Taeho whispered. "And they changed everything."